what you want while you dance to this. Your plans and shit, romance or biz, a chance to get whatever you could possibly dream.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Samix Plays here, back with another TFT video, and my goodness, do we have a lot to talk about. So the devs just dropped the update. It's an absolutely banger of an update. It's the one that a lot of players have been waiting for. It's going to be those nerfs to those invasion dungeons, as well as buffs to Hailey and the shards. So there's a lot to go over today. We're going to go ahead and talk about it. I also did want to show that we are officially done with the Hailey grind. I just have to wait the 8 hours to unlock her and then another 16 hours, and then I will start pushing out some guides, as well as we'll do some builds and stuff. But hey, I'm gonna be late because everybody else bought her day one, or all the other content creators, so it is what it is, but we'll have some fun with her for sure. Alright, there we go, and we're gonna switch to this. I made myself really tiny so everybody could read along if y'all want to read, so my camera is not blocking the text, but we have a massive patch. Let's go ahead and get into it. So first is first, here are gonna be the content improvements. The invasion improved the mechanics of the Order of the Truth dungeon, so they removed the RK pillars that didn't display any symbols, so when you're going and running through those invasion dungeons, when you have the pillars, it is now not going to be any blank ones whatsoever. Every single pillar you shoot will have a symbol. As you can see here, they also added the dots on the symbols, so you will be able to tell the placement from that. Also, the improved RK pillars now face toward the inside of the battle area, meaning that if the pillar was facing away from you previously, now the pillars are going to be looking at you, so it's going to be a lot easier to shoot. Simplified the design of the symbols, which is going to be these right here from what we see so far. Overall, I think it looks a lot better. They fixed an issue where skills would continue to target the tumors even after they were destroyed, so like Bunny's high voltage, for example, would be a good one. The high voltage proc would keep targeting the turret even after all the symbols were cleared, because the infection on the pillars would respawn, so it would just constantly target that. So they did fix that. Improved pillars, so tumors do not regenerate after they are destroyed, so you will now only have to shoot them once instead of having to consistently shoot them. They reduced the number of hits needed to destroy RK pillar tumors from 5 to 3, so you won't have to shoot as much. And they also adjusted the path, and the drones will path a little bit differently. I'm assuming it's going to be easier because they reduced the movement speed. And they also changed the direction of the symbol displayed above the ancestor drone to be vertical, so that is going to be easier to see now. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the door. So the door, after you clear the pillars and then you go shoot the wall, they are lowering the shots needed from 3 to 2, so you'll be able to clear it in 1 attempt. Now we're going to be looking at the brain missions. They removed the time limit for artificial brain input after the first supply, changed the amount of artificial brains that have to be supplied to 20. They changed the amount of artificial brains the player can hold from 15 to 10, and they moved the location of the phase separation bell generator near the computing unit and battles with named monsters. So basically, the brain missions got some updates as well. And then here is a big one that a big part of the community did not like. This one for me actually wasn't that bad, but I know if you're like colorblind, this was a huge pain in the ass. This is actually one of the easiest ones in my opinion. The ones I don't like are the pillar ones, but with the new updates to the pillar ones, it seems like it's going to be a lot easier now and maybe not as tedious. So here are going to be the new symbols, as well as they're going to be marked. I did test this in the invasion dungeon today, as well as once you hook up on top of that little block, it now stays lit up for like a few seconds. So even if you're not on top of the the circle thing, you jump down from it and they'll still be like, you'll be able to see the symbols still. So basically they adjusted the archive tile positions to make it easier to identify them, reduced the archive tile occupation time to 3 seconds, and they simplified the color designs. They also reduced the archive tiles from 6 to 4, so this should be a lot easier for players to manage. Let's do this. I feel like I'm too tiny. There we go. I'm back to normal size. Alright, so they also removed the bombers that would destroy the Archai tiles, so that's no longer in the game. Reduced the spawn rate of raiders, and they changed the symbols to stay on the Archai tiles longer after stepping off. So that's what I was talking about just now. So after you step off the tiles, it displays them longer. Or I guess it would be called the central control unit, I guess. So yeah, after you jump off of it, it's going to display the symbols, like for a little bit longer. Basically, this is going to be changes to the bosses. They made a lot of changes. I'm not going to go over all of them, but basically the bosses got nerfed. I did run one of the invasion dungeons today, and the boss was still extremely tanky, and I have like a max DL. So it does seem to still be a little difficult as far as the bosses go, but the one today might just be a little harder than others. So we'll have to wait and see how that looks. And then I did want to go over this. This is kind of a big one. So increased Hailey research material rewards available at each clear time in invasion dungeons from 3, 2, and 1 to 5, 4, and 3. So basically what this means is that previously you were getting only 1 shard if you were clearing it on bronze, so now you would get 3, and then if you clear it on silver, you're now getting 4. So they're making it a little bit easier for players that maybe aren't in-game build and they're a little bit more casual. You'll be able to go in there, and even if you do not get that gold trophy, you'll still get some shards. If you do clear it on gold, it is going to be 5 shards. So if you got gold on every mission you played, that would be 20 shards a day. All right, the next big thing I wanted to talk about, so we're not going to go over all of these. I'm actually going to show it in the game because I think that's just more interesting. But they buffed all of the season stuff, like the season points that you put into, and nobody really cared about them because it was like making your character worse. The design was so weird, like, but they changed it now. Originally, it was you would have trade-offs, so you would like buff your character in one way, but then you would also be nerfing it in another way, which seems really strange to me. Like it's supposed to be we're gaining power, but it's actually you're nerfing yourself. It was wild what they had on release, but I'll go ahead and show it in game. These are actually really good changes. I'm glad they made this fix because there was really no point to put points. There were a couple that were good, but yeah, there wasn't that many good ones, to be honest. But let me go ahead and switch over to end game here. All right, so now that we're back in game, let's go ahead and take a look at these. So the inversion reinforcement points, as you can see, I didn't even bother to put that many points into mine because I saw no point, dude. I was like, these are so bad. Like a lot of them had debuffs, but now the devs said, all right, we're gonna make it way better. So like this one, for example, if you look here, used to give you HP, but it also reduced your defense. So it was basically like that for like 90% of these. You would gain something and then you would lose something. Now it's different, right? We don't have those debuffs anymore, so they're a lot more important. So like for this one, for example, now it just gives you max HP. You're not getting that minus defense. So I think overall this system is way, way, way better than what we had because this way it incentivizes you to do the inversion so you gain power and you're not going to lose anything. Now there are still some in here that are a little strange. So like this one right here in the recovery tree, if you're hit at 10% HP or less, you don't die and it takes away all your MP. This one's still kind of, I mean, it's very niche, I guess, if you didn't have that much MP, but it's kind of like taking your entire mana pool and then saving you. I guess it doesn't matter though, because if you were gonna die anyways, your MP would just be reset. So yeah, but they do have stuff like this. Like here, you would be getting like resistances. So like chill resistance, fire resistance, toxic resistance. So you can spec into these if you are fighting like bosses or something. So they do have some value there. And then you have something like this, like Void Adrenaline, where HP is 20% or less during intercept battles. It grants you movement speed. This is going to be really good on something like Bunny. In fact, I'm gonna grab that one right now. But yeah, overall, these changes are just goated. I like this way better than what we had. The other ones seemed kind of useless and just there were only a couple to really spec into, and now it's actually viable and you can just kind of build the way you want. And you know, you can just take out your points and respec if you're fighting like a specific boss or something like that. This was a great change. I'm glad the devs addressed this because now we're more incentivized to actually put points into these. So I'm going to do that, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and switch back here. So we also have some changes to the mods. Overwhelming shield got increased, overwhelming HP has been increased, and here's a big one: they decreased the defense and HP of Pyromaniac in normal and hard mode, and they also decreased HP and shield of the hummingbirds, which appears in Executioner and Pyromaniac. So they're trying to give those players that are still in the early game hard bosses, they want to make it a little bit easier for them to progress. So we'll have to see how much easier that actually is. I need to go test that out. The kill score for defeating monsters and some hard missions has been increased. So that's going to be Magister Lab, Sterile Land, Unknown Laboratory, Fortress Quarantine Zone, and they shorten the time required to interact with objects. So it's really good. And then we have some bug fixes and stuff like that. I am going to link this down below if you do want to go read this for yourselves. I'm not going to go over the bug fixes, but I will read the director's comment. It says, "Greeting Descendants, this is the director of the First Descendant. Based on community feedback and data, the dev team has analyzed the success rate of the invasion dungeons and adjusted the difficulty of puzzles and battles against named bosses. Although not yet included in the 1.1 update, we are also working on adding matchmaking to the invasion dungeons." So yeah, a lot of players wanted to have matchmaking included with the update so they could play with their friends. I guess the devs are saying that that is not ready, but it is coming. We are committed to improving this feature so that you can enjoy invasion dungeons with your party as soon as possible. We have also increased the amount of rewards of Hailey's research materials that can be obtained in the invasion dungeons. And in the 1.10b update, we improved the drop of Hailey's research materials as infiltration operation rewards, but based on continuing community feedback about how difficult the farming is, we have adjusted the rewards for clearing invasion dungeons, so now 12 to 20 research materials can be received daily depending on the trophy earned. We hope this adjustment allows more players to farm Hailey more easily and enjoy the game. So yeah, most of the hardcore players, if you were already farming for Hailey and did the farm, you're probably close to being finished already, and or you are finished. But this is good for, you know, the casual players that can't play a lot, so they'll be able to just like get Hailey a lot more easier now, since those increased rates in the invasion dungeons are going to be much higher. In my opinion, this should have been implemented at the start of, well, on the last hotfix. I feel like they should have, that's when they should have buffed the Hailey shards, but I mean, it's fine. I'm happy that the other people can get her easier. We have improved the effectiveness of inversion reinforcement and removed penalties. This was huge. So yeah, they just removed all the penalties from the season points. And then additionally, stacking conditions have also been reduced, so it is easier to trigger. This enhancement of inversion reinforcement includes a lot of defensive effects, so we hope it will help the Descendants to make their builds even more aggressive. They might be hinting here to not full send survivability and maybe put in more damage. I'm guessing that's what they're saying here, but we'll have to see and test some builds and see if it like majorly changes anything. One of the major changes for this season has been that the usage of the hard infiltration operation has seen a significant increase since the season update. The rise in participation stems from increased activity by those farming Hailey and the operations and improved rewards. The dev team hopes that the operations will become an important farming location and is preparing to make adjustments to some sections with traps to provide a better gameplay experience. Finally, in the second update scheduled for October 10th, we plan on introducing operations of the highest difficulty, so increased hard mode for those dungeons. We will continue to incorporate your feedback to ensure an even more engaging and fun battle experience. So yeah, overall, we already knew this was coming a week ago. I'm happy they added it for sure. Definitely props to the devs for fixing it. I hope in the future that this is all addressed like before the patch is sent out. That way they don't have to go back later and keep trying to fix things that people don't like. But as I said, I think over time, I think they will kind of get it down and decide how hard they want it to be, because we're kind of getting flopped all over the place as of right now. We had Luna with her really high drop rates, as we see in most of the normal Descendant patterns, as well well as then we had Ultimate Valby, which was really high drop rates for an ultimate, and then to go from that to the Hailey grind for a normal Descendant definitely confused a lot of players. So I think they are trying to figure it out. They did a lot of good things in this patch. They cleaned up a lot of stuff that the players wanted. The biggest one for me being the Hailey grind and the Inversion reinforcement. I think that was extremely good, and I am happy that they did that. We'll have to test that out and see exactly how good it is and all that good stuff, which I imagine it will be good, right? If there's only positives now, you're not really losing anything. So overall, if you were struggling with the invasion dungeons and maybe you weren't able to get that gold trophy, now you should be able to. Even if you do finish bronze or silver, you should still be able to get a good amount of shards. That way you can also, you're not just getting one shard a run if you're not built enough to do the invasions. As I said, the bosses today, one of the bosses was still extremely tanky, so we'll have to see, because you know, I have a maxed enduring legacy and it still took me like a good bit to kill it, so we'll have to see how the majority likes the new changes. I think these are great changes. I don't like puzzles to begin with, so for me, making it less tedious is a good thing, and I think it is overall really good for the casual players that have a hard time with these mechanics. So overall, W patch, I think it's really good. I think the devs noticed a lot of the mistakes with the content that they dropped, and then now they are fixing it and making it better for the people who are struggling to do the content as well as farm for Hailey. So anyways, guys, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to keep you guys updated with all of the good stuff going on. W devs for fixing everything. I think it's definitely really good that they did that. So anyways, I am Samix Plays. Thank you so much for your support. I will see you in the next one. Peace.